Welcome to the show. I am Jennifer Regular, your host, also known as the Soul Illuminator at Lighting the Path. More about that on my website, lightingthepath.ca. Today on Awaken and Ascend, an enlightened way of life, with Meilin Ehlke, who is joining me from Germany. As we journey, let us see the beauty in oneself and others, and then together, our planet's magnificence. I honor you, and we are so grateful that you are here. You are an expanding light being. Balancing your humanity with your light work causes you to experience binding and friction as you continually grow and expand. Meilin Ehlke works with you in the moment as a connecting line, guiding and reintegrating all of who you are now with your divine self, as your divine self, so you are whole and complete. Songs and tones come to support what you want to create, to comfort you and to catapult you into the future. Welcome everything you experience and embrace the wholeness. This is our wish for you today. And Meilin, it is such an honor to have you here and take us into the possibilities of an enlightened way of life. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me on your show, Jennifer. I'm really honored.
Yes.
And hello, everyone listening.
Hello, everyone. And of course, I'm situated in Victoria, BC, and I love that we can all come together from all parts of the world and share our journey together to be a part of this incredible human experience that we've all came here to have in these various parts of the world. And I'd love to know where you're from. So in the comments, you can put that in, and anything that you want to share or ask about, we welcome all of it because you are a part of this too. Meilin, I wonder how this life became part of you and how you became part of it. What lit your path and brought you into this journey of oneness and wholeness and the connection with the divine? I'm really curious about all of that and how it's come together for you.
Wow, a beautiful question, huge question. But I think it's a simple answer. Looking back, birth. Yeah, birth, experiencing the landscape where I've grown up right away. Right, the landscape gives us so much information that feeds us, that nourishes us. Then our parents, where they came from. I have parents out of two different cultures. And so that already sparked my curiosity and also opened me up to differences. So my dad's American, my mom is German, but my mom even is a refugee out of East Germany, right? So it's like she has already two cultures in her. And yeah, and how is the world? That is something that I had since a little girl. I would not walk on a normal path. I would be off somewhere else and like a dog, meet you at the end of the forest, and then I'll be maybe walking next to my parents for a while. And luckily, both of my parents are a little bit rebellish. Yeah, they left their communities to explore the world, to see what else is out there. So, that feeds an experience, and it brought this certain freedom and this questioning and this curiosity that was built into that already. And then because I walk different, I have cerebral palsy, then also there, I experienced also the world different. I didn't fit in totally that way. I was maybe also silenced rather early on because I spoke the truth very early. So I was a channel, not knowing as a child, but we're born as channels, right? It's not something we learn. We're all mediums, but some of us have a more developed gift. Even the gift is maybe the wrong word. Have fine-tuned a certain aspect of a human more. or it's more fun for us to use it. That's right.
Yes.
It's not like a gift, a package. So I think it's the wrong word. It creates something, or maybe we are curious to delve into it. Something pulls us, draws us in, right? Why did I get drawn into art? Why did I get drawn to nature, to follow its energy lines, right? Because I explore it. I love that. I love this exuberance or this dance of life, those sparkles. It's so funny. I chose a shirt, and it had this sparkly one, and I'm sitting down looking outside of the window, and it had just rained before, and now the sun shines, and there are these beautiful raindrops on the lower, but it's like a design, and they're sparkling like stars now. So I wonder, illuminator, I'm talking to an illuminator.
Beautiful. An illuminator, yes, but also
exactly that. And then the right people come to you to help you to become who you are. That is my biggest understanding, what I learned out of all of this. And it's a whole bunch. And so I'm not the only one. And we all had that. We're certain parts of the world we grow up, certain communities, certain cultures. And everyone who's listening here is very curious, wants to learn more about each other. And we're all looking now to synchronize and see what are we really and what are we not living. And that is coming out now. And there is this strong, I sense in the world. I'm going to use this pull again. Yeah, we're being pulled or nudged, pushed all together, probably. pulled, pushed.
Yes.
To become who we are and really let go of the things that are not fun, that are not us, that we have taken on to fit in. And that time is over.
That time is over, right? And what is the time for now? To live those unlived aspects of ourselves, to see what in us has yet to be born. And I love this idea of birth. And as you're talking about the pulling and the pushing and the nudging, and that's the labor, the labor of love, right? And pushing us out into the world. And so I love that idea of birth, that's where it begins. And then we continue and we grow and we evolve. And I like your talk about the dog at the end of the forest, and maybe I'll walk with you again, because I sometimes talk about too how I'm kind of like a dog. I go around and I circle around and I circle around before I settle in and into my spot, and then so I do that. I go around and I learn and I explore and I experience, and then I move about even in the world, traveling to different places and then coming into this space of stillness again to assimilate that and digest that and feel into that. And like a dog, it just completely relaxes. Once it relaxes, it just completely lets go and it goes so deep. And I find in the world today, we're not doing that deep relaxation and sinking in instead of thinking, that sinking into the depths of our being and understanding and that stillness of knowing. And it's such a beautiful thing to be able to experience that oneness, that wholeness, that there's no grasping or pulling or pushing, that we can simply be and be in it fully as the dog can be. We have a lot to learn from that. We also talked about, as we expand and as we evolve, there's this friction that you identified as we do that. And I'd like to talk a little bit about that and what that feels like, because it's not very pleasant, and yet it leads to something very good. And so what do you think's creating that friction, Meilin?
Yeah, energy is light changes, right? Particles getting to know each other and moving away or finding its own rhythm. Yeah, the floating. You mentioned, the pushing and pulling. It is almost like a dance, like if you would be dancing in the waves of the water of an ocean, right? There is this this rhythm. And sometimes the water pulls you in, and sometimes it pushes you in. And to go with that flow, you can say sometimes you're happy and sometimes you're a little sad because things come up and you contemplate. I think sometimes people don't want to go into that place, but it's important to become aware what maybe has tightened your body, because your body holds so much, and to be in a way happy when you're sad. That creates also this friction, like you're crying, but in the tears, and I look at the window, I look a lot at nature. Yes. And I remember this one day I said, oh, I'm crying, but I'm so happy. I'm finally fell in that spot of finding and letting those tears run, giving me the time to be sad, to be emotional, right? And this friction, and that created happiness. So I came out, whoops, really, really quick out of that, and you got then energy. So that is again this friction, like just before this explosion, it is this, our whole universe is built up on that, right? When two come together, galaxies, you can see these videos, these galaxies, they get pulled in and then they come together, they disappear, but out of it come two new ones. And it's the same within us. And if we acknowledge that, in that moment, something disappears, but something new is coming out of it. And if you experience that over and over, you just go with the flow of life. You see the beauty in those moments. You see you have fun, that friction. Because you don't, it doesn't hurt. I think we're all often so afraid that it is hurting, and then you can share it and you can tell it others, and that becomes so important, right? Then you find the words to voice what you've experienced, and others are so happy that you're sharing. Then they don't have to go through it because they synchronize with you. It's go again, there's this pull, right? And then we synchronize. I can give all my information to that person and they don't need to. And this is so fun. And we're going global, Jennifer, even on this podcast, you're being listened to all over. We can find each other, our words, and we can just sense each other and synchronize. And we accelerate and move each other forward, higher. So the vibration gets lighter and higher, and we can stay in higher vibrations for longer and longer. We're all noticing that. So these little dips, they become less and less, and they don't go so deep anymore. And we can sense that more happier and happier. And then you begin seeing the beauty of your experience. Because they're not just words. It's really, you felt that there's a transformation happening. Transformation is again something happening. The non-material comes into the material, so there's again the friction. And friction in a way is everywhere, and it sparks. If you rub two things and maybe they're metal, and new sparks come out, and fireworks and glow and hope.
There's a real activation that happens there. Yes, absolutely. There's so much in there that I just love.
I took some.
It's like we're on fire. Yes. It's such a beautiful experience, as you say, and how we can engage and elevate and then stay in that higher vibration longer. And it really feeds into my vision too of co-creating global harmony, as you talk about synchronizing. We come into harmony within ourselves and with each other, and we can do that dance and find those rhythms. And there's an entrainment that happens, and there's also shape-shifting that happens, and there's transformation, which is really transcending form. So moving into a new shape, a new form, a new way of being. And you're talking about an enlightened way of life, an enlightened way of being. And some of that connection is with each other. Some of that connection is with the divine and through consciousness and a deeper connection with ourself and our own humanity, and also our spirituality and divine self, and all of these different aspects that can be birthed and activated and acknowledged. And you're also talking about creating the space to free ourselves. That freedom comes from creating the space and feeling that expansion, feeling spacious, and having more to come and more to be revealed and more to experience in our lives. And so that's why I pause, because I'm like, wow, there's so much. And so sometimes people get overwhelmed by it all, the intensity of high level experiences, or the intensity of fear and the density that also exists. And I hear also talking about being happy and sad, how to be happy within the sadness, and how the happiness can hold the sadness, and how within the sadness we can be happy. And how interesting it is that we cry when we're so happy, or when our soul opens up, and also when it's sad. And coming together, I hear about how the joys are the joys are doubled, the sorrows are halved when we come together, and it's just such a supportive experience. And to recognize all of this as in how interconnected everything is. And so I'm
Yeah.
wondering what's coming to you as we bring that all together, and this enlightened way of life, and how we are also our divine selves. So it's not being happy or sad, or being human or spiritual. It's being spiritual and human, and happy and sad. We're moving from the or and the duality and the binary thinking into this wholeness, and being and instead of or, and
Yeah,
please.
separation. We're trained to be separated, right? Especially started in Europe over 2,000 years ago. We were pulled apart. Communities were pulled apart. Sacred languages were not allowed to be spoken anymore. Wise women had no word to say anymore. It took still in some countries. Anyway, right? So we have to get used again, first of all, to be us, to allow ourselves. That's not easy. I mean, I'm a rebel. I'm lucky. I don't know how, but I was born maybe to be an example, or to be someone others can synchronize to with, so they don't have to go through what it is, and to not care in a way. I don't concentrate on the negative. Often people said, you always concentrate on the positive. He said, yes, I do. But this is something that is innate to my being. That light, not that I have experienced many other things too, but they don't. I'm a stand-up doll. I didn't care. I got back up, and I'm still getting up, and I'm still going for it. And so people are getting used again for communities coming extremely. So we were separated away from family, from community, especially women. We need community so we can feel safe, free. We can let ourselves fall back. We can let ourselves rush forward because we know someone is taking care of the children. They're fed. We can concentrate on whatever we want to do. So learning again also to feel comfortable in community. I'm noticing that this is difficult for many, where I'm going to use the Europeans again. We even in etiquette and clothing, we were tightened. We were not being able to even breathe freely. So this takes time, and that is going to accelerate extreme. So everyone, get used to that. You are a flexible being. You're a being that moves like everything in the cosmos, and that it needs really more strength to stay tight and immovable. It creates more pain than going with the unwinding. See what happens, because there, everyone, what the beautiful part is, When I unwind, when you unwind, when we unwind and move into a business, you even mentioned shape shifting, our body's form change. We get broader, we get thinner in some part. Our body is able to change, and it stays this way. I'm not talking about weight and losing weight. It's the form of the body changes too. When your hair becomes thicker or maybe more curly if you live your purpose, or the opposite, whatever it is. But everyone in your surrounding changes, and they're happy that you're doing it. Mm-hmm. So it's not a negative. We don't have to be afraid that we don't fit in anymore, because we're all at the moment are moving as humanity toward community, more being ourselves. So separation, hiding, secrets, all these things are becoming unimportant, because we feel free to voice and show ourselves. We are opening up to the cosmos. And we don't even have to call ourselves. It's sometimes, I think, also a hindrance, the word spirituality or divine. Who the heck says you're divine and I'm not divine, and you're worth something and I'm not worth something? And right? We're all in the same dance. An animal and a tree doesn't worry about these things. And we all understand each other. Mm-hmm. And so we don't feel alone, because we recognize that also what I recognize in you, Jennifer, and in you who is watching and listening, and you recognize it in with me. I don't even need to say a word. Or Jennifer, we could sit here, you could watch us, you could feel us. This is important to understand now, that we're dissolving again this friction, and that's also sometimes feels like a little hard work, because it does, even dissolving needs energy. Where it disappears, but then it's gone, and then it's always lighter, and that brings the lightness, and that is the enlightenment. We find the old rituals. The right people show up for you to bring you the wisdom you're looking for. Yes. That makes you and helps you to be more of who you are.
Mm-hmm. And I love everything you said, but one of the things that also really stood out was about community, and we can see that as one possibility of coming together in unity. Yes. And framing our reality into this unity consciousness, really being together, not separate, as you say, moving into oneness, which is
Travel
really
helps.
What you're all about, moving into wellness. And you talk about sound as well. And I love sound. That's one modality that I feel really brings me back home and really helps me to feel deeply connected, and really helps me to move with what I'm feeling and what's happening in the world. It just helps me to find my rhythm again. It helps me to feel soothed, and also to get up and dance and to move. And it really helps activate that movement of whatever needs to be moved and shifted. And so I'd love to hear a little bit more about your work, Meilin, about the sound work and moving into wellness, and what shape that takes when you're working with people.
Yeah, the landscapes create sounds. Trees, we were speaking about the rain, right? It creates sounds. It's a smoothing, comfort. We were speaking about sacred languages, which have tones that make us feel well. Mm-hmm. There are few left, like Hawaiian is a sacred language. It just makes you feel good when you hear it. When you go in South Africa and you hear the clicking, when they use the clicking sounds, right? They use the sounds of the environment, a micro environment or a larger environment. And so the language also developed this way. I don't think that English is really still sacred language. If we go back from where it came from, yes, the older languages we've been laughing on to. about, but we're recognizing all over the world our dialects are becoming important again. The huge variety of ways to pronounce words and sounds, because we feel it. It is, we're talking about vibration. What is vibration? In German, we have the Schwingung, yeah, and sound is carried. The vibration carries also the sound. It goes with the light. There's one sound, one light, one intent, right? There's not much more. Yeah, and it the one mind, right? The one being, and we are this understanding on and recognizing, and so no vocabulary that has an experience attached to it. And even if a sound is not so recognizable, sometimes we hear maybe in a symphony we have heard over and over, and we can feel how the music influences us, whatever the intention was from the composer, or what kind of being and how connected he was when he wrote. A music can really influence our behavior. So even there, be careful which music you listen to. What does it do to your body? We react to it. It's again, we were speaking about shape-shifting and the particles, right? How do they swing? You can see it in crystals. We were speaking last time with Jennifer when we spoke about Emoto. He talked so much what the sound does to the purity of sound. So we have to look for the pure sounds. The pure sounds come with love and light, even when we speak to others. So choose your words. And yeah, my way of sounding came twofold. Once, now looking back, it's easy. Friends of mine said, oh, Meilin, in school, when you spoke, it calmed us down. We could be who we are. So it was, I think, once the radiance and the way I spoke, or the voice or the words I chose, and the response to what I saw in them. Then now later in 2012 was a fascinating experience. Suddenly I sang, and in school I was thrown out of music class because I couldn't hit the notes I'm supposed to. And there came a way of singing, sounding, chanting. It's all speaking different languages of societies that have lived here on this planet from other star nations. As a channel, then I bring those songs that people recognize, and it starts working with their body, and it helps them remember. Especially if you're creative, you get stuck. I had so many people, they were writing songs and then they couldn't write anymore, or even one woman, a business plan. I said, I have to give it, tomorrow's due date. I recorded a song, and the song can pop because there is no, people can't really put something to it, and it's so awkward and it's so different, or it's so smoothing. Whatever is needed, those tones arise and help a person to create what they desire to create and to bring into this world. And talking about the push again, really moving them, creating momentum that catapults them into the future, into the being they are, and to bring out their work like they want, with that nice feeling. Yeah, but at the beginning I sang to the wind because I didn't know how people would take that when these chants or songs came out, and then I had to practice. But now I see it is an igniter, healing. It shifts people. You can see the form shift. Maybe I have a keen eye for that. I'm a physical channel. I really dance other people sometimes. I don't wobble then.
Wow.
Yeah, so it is for me really then to see and move them into the cells, the particles of a person, of a beautiful light being, to show their light, to go in that vibration that makes it reconnect to their source and speak from that, to live from that. And that is then the enlightened, because you have recognized who you are and what you're bringing.
Yes. The enlightened way of life. Thank you, Meilin. Oh, that's so beautiful. And it's true, the energy and the words, it makes us feel, it helps us feel. And, it goes along with that saying, people often forget what you say, but they'll always remember how you make them feel. And so being that vibration is healing, and it's empowering, and it's beautiful, and we can move into that, be that. Yeah.
We can do it, exactly. It invite it in. I would say that's what I do. I invite that, ooh, and I think, dream something up, or sit in the sun, get inspired, I have an idea, and I invite it in. I invite to appear. I invite to go in conversations with animals, with trees, with the water, with the stones. Sometimes they're rough conversations, and physical, even with other, even with the stones. But I invite it into my life. And when you invite it, things happen. And it happens faster and faster and faster. Even the universe, you were speaking, right? The universe is moving fast. It's less dense. And each day it's becoming less dense, and it's like potentializing. We can look back hundreds of years how dense it was, and it's not the same.
Yeah.
So whatever we bring into the material world is being materialized so much faster. So a thought creates. And if you live from that, and you know what you think comes into fruition, not always right now, because don't forget, the environment has to adjust.
Yes.
To create something. It's so there's a whole landscape, or maybe even a whole culture, and because we are one, and we all feel this unity. Do we acknowledge it now and really are aware of it and act on it? We're learning that again, all of us. So be patient with yourself, be patient with others. Yeah, but give them the space. Your children, your partner, give them the time, and we move in different speeds. And yeah,
Yes.
go on and on.
I love that idea too of inviting in and invoking those energies. And you're right, like a seed doesn't become a flower or a fruit or a vegetable right away. There's a transformational process that happens, and we invite in the sunlight, we invite in the water, the rain, we invite in the nutrients, what feeds us, what helps us to grow into our fullest bloom, into our fullest glory. All of the things, all of the elements need to be invited in, to create those favorable conditions that help support us and help us grow. Like you say, I don't want to use the word careful, being aware and conscious of what we invite in, purposeful, intentional about what we invite into our space, the kind of music and sounds we listen to, the people that we surround ourselves with, the ideas that we spend time on or come up with or debate about. All of those thoughts are energy too, and have great influence. And so recognizing how much is influencing, impacting our sense of well-being and wholeness, and how we grow or not.
And we think sometimes if we just look at ourselves, we sometimes don't recognize it, and so others can be our mirror. So asking others what they see, the change, then you can see it in others, right? So that is another thing. And you go into action and you act different to others because you've changed. So they feel that change in action. It's sometimes more difficult if we, again, live all alone. That's, again, why we need community. And how faster we can move, because we get these inputs from everywhere. Oh, Meilin, you did different. Oh, I did? Yeah, I did. These things. Luckily, we get something like Zoom now, where we can find similar-minded, or that they speak the same language, are interested, right? The interests, and that feels where we have more fun, where we have more joy. So I invite you to do more things. and act on your own ideas. Really, really important.
Mm.
Try it out. Do it slowly if you want to. You do it fast. Some days you can't even act, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
But some other days you feel right. Then you do it, and then you go out and explore. Going among people again, I think, becomes important. And then there we can see how similar we are.
Absolutely. And there's ways to connect with each of us too, everyone that's watching and listening. And we'll put some links to be able to do that in the video description. But while you're here, Meilin, I'd love for you to share a little bit more about how people can connect with you, what they can expect when they do.
No, thank you for asking. Yeah, Meilin Ehlke, spelled Meilin for Meilin, and Ehlke, EHLKE.com. Per email, on social, wherever you type it in, you'll find me. You can listen to my podcast, maybe Moving to Oneness, if you desire to hear more about my way of thinking or the conversations I have with other illuminated beings or interested in illumination. And yeah, and just converse, reach out and explore how you feel, and then we go from there. Because I'm very, what is important for me, Jennifer, everyone, we're so, even though we're one, we're very unique. And in every moment, and I love to work in the moment, something else is needed, even though we have a vision. But if something can't be transformed, in that moment, you don't get there. So then I look how a person is sitting, standing, feeling, what their desires are, and then come maybe journeys, shamanic journeys, or sounds or languages to move them and catapult them into their future, wherever they need to go. And it's always fun, very seldom. It's maybe a little for a moment in this fast change. But you have enough time to relax. And I think that is so important, that we can be ourselves even in the transformation. So there is no certain tempo given. Everyone find what you love. And even if you work together with someone and are together, it's so important. If I could do one, because it's so important that now we find our own style. So then me, as a mentor or a catapult or whatever, I don't even have a name for what I am, because who are we? We're a beautiful being.
Yeah.
Right? I have to live it, and I have to act with everyone in the same way. So you can become who you are, and you can find your way. And you teach me what your style is.
Yes.
Because why are you living here on this earth right now? There's a reason. And what is your purpose for living right now? And we're moving into that. Jennifer, you have asked me, what do I sense? That as the moment, we are all illuminating, really. I mean, we're becoming brighter lights, because less density, the light can shine through with vibration, right? Because we're doing who we are. We can really expand and influence. And we're the people right now who bring this illumination and this enlightenment and this unity to this earth. And it's not far away, a little chaotic, maybe a little bit longer, but not much longer. This earth will move back into its harmony and balance, and we as well.
So beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And like I just mentioned, we will have links to connect with Meilin in the show notes. They're in a beautiful offering as well. So make sure you take a peek at what that is. And I have a guide in there too for living your passion and purpose. And as we've been talking, it's really what lights you up, what your purposeful intention for being on this earth at this time is. And when you break up the word passion, it's pass I on. And that's all about you, your I, your soul's expression of what you're here to pass on in this lifetime. And I'm so grateful for Meilin for sharing your big eye and what you're here to pass on to others. There is so much that you are passing on. Your life is a living prayer as I see it. And I
Thank
know
you.
that it's ignited the spark in anyone that's watching this and listening to this. And it has for me too. So thank you, everyone, for being here. And Meilin, thank you so very much for joining me today.
Thank you, Jennifer, and everyone. The best to you. Be who you are and shine your light.
Shine your light. See you next time on Awaken and Ascend.